Are you a Black woman who wants to work less and live more? This discussion is for you. If so, welcome to my channel. My name is Marissa Price. I'm a Black woman social worker, healer, and liberation coach, supporting Black women and femmes globally in healing from oppression and reclaiming our self-confidence. So please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. But today I have a wonderful guest with me, Rashida, dream strategist, and I will pass it over to her to introduce herself and tell us about her YouTube channel.
Yes, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So thank you for having me. I'm Rashida, your dream strategist. I am a life coach for Black women, and I help us quit being a strong Black woman and actually reclaim our freedom, our softness, our femininity by getting back to who we are and dreaming and then building our life around that. So I'm excited to be talking about this topic with you tonight.
I love that. I love that. Can you share just a little bit more about like your title, right? Because when I saw like dream strategist, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, how did you come up with this title?
Right. So much of what I do in my program, not only are we redefining who we are and like getting back to the core of who we are, I also think it's very important that once we get back to the core of who we are, that we dream and we create vision based on that. Because a lot of times our own dreams have been colonized by what the world has told us we should want from life. And so the dream part comes from that. Like, let's get back to the core of who we are and dream there. And then strategizing on how to shift our lives, because it doesn't just happen overnight. It's a mindset shift. Like everything that I'm 40 years old. It doesn't matter how old you are, but everything that you've been bred to believe up until this point has been capitalism and all of these things. But if we want to shift it, we actually have to change our mindset, and that changes our decisions, and our decisions change our behaviors. And so all of that, you got to strategize on how you do that. This is not a throw the spaghetti at the wall type situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Like you said, it requires like a mindset shift. Like these institutions, these systems that we've been in our entire lives, and then making this transition to freedom, right? That comes with a lot of unlearning, shedding of what you've been taught. And that's not an easy process, which is one of the things you talk about, like just being real and honest about that. It's not easy to get to that point, right? So can you share a little bit about that process, what that was like for you transitioning from corporate to being an entrepreneur and everything that entailed?
Yeah. Girl, there's so much unlearning. And I think the crazy part about it is that there's unlearning that we don't even know we're going to have to unlearn.
Yes.
It starts creeping out and you're like, dang, where did that come from? I never would have thought that would be a thing for me. And that was so much of how my experience is. I'm being real with y'all. Like every time I thought that, I was like, yes, I'm unlearned.
Something else popped up. That's very true.
I want to normalize that, because just because you have a new revelation and a new level of unlearning doesn't mean that you haven't made progress, doesn't mean that, things haven't gotten better. Actually, it's just literally that, where it's a new level of unlearning. So for me, leaving corporate America, it was a lot of, like, in my own mind, even though I left corporate America and I started my own business, I would still force myself to work from 9 to 5.
Yes.
It's these little things that really keep us in our box. And we have to think about, like, man, why do I feel like I have to do that? I would be so kind of strict about how I did my emails. I felt like I had to be uber professional in how I spoke to people, which a lot of those things really take away our personality, the humanization of who we are. Like, all of those things generally get stripped away with us trying to be uber professional. And I had to unlearn all of those things to really allow myself and who I am in my business really emerge. Girl, and I could talk about this forever, but that's a huge part of really coming from that corporate America part and getting into being a business owner. That had to shift for me.
Yeah, that's huge. And me too. I had put myself, because I had internalized what, like, the things in my environment that I had to do to myself now. Putting myself on this very rigid, strict schedule, and then feeling bad when I couldn't meet it.
Yeah.
But I was coming out of a toxic environment, right? So I was not giving myself enough time to rest and recover and recuperate. And a lot of that was like trying to show out for other people. I feel like trying to get other people's approval that I was doing this entrepreneurship thing correctly. It's like, but I was like wearing myself to the bone. I'm like, no.
Right.
Yes.
It's like we try to show up for we trying to show up. Who we trying to prove it to? It's just us in this room.
It's just me.
It's just us.
That's so true. Yeah.
And it's like really choosing into grace. Like there is, if nothing else, I talk about how to work less and live more from a corporate perspective, but especially from an entrepreneur perspective, there is always going to be something to do. If you don't choose to rest, it will absolutely never happen.
100%. That is so true. Yep. And like you said, unlearning like professionalism, right? That we're taught that we have to put on in these environments. But then like transitioning to entrepreneurship, I found you really have to like be yourself. And that transition to attract your people, to attract your audience. They want to see you. But when you've been in these really rigid environments the whole time, that transition is hard to be yourself, right? After all of that you went through.
Right. Yeah. And we've heard so-and-so Black sister say, oh, she didn't show up. We put each other in this box of like, we have to show up in this professional way. And also unlearning and blocking out that static as well is another part of it. Because even if you take a step out, sometimes, again, other people's expectations haven't yet recognized the beauty of being just able to show up and be our fun selves. Like how you and I are having a good time. We're not sitting here being like, I have to be very professional in how I show up.
Yes.
Like, who has to get on the line with that, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
So absolutely. Permission for that, you know?
And I found that when I talk about certain topics still, like in the business world, because that's where I came from, I'll go straight back into that mode that I was socialized. Like it's very robotic and it doesn't feel like me, right? So coming back into who I am, that's so important. I think we lost your video on my end.
That might have been me. It's coming back. Give it a second.
Okay. I'm going to read some comments here. Leslin says that part, it takes away from who we are innately. Yeah. And realizing that who we are innately is enough. It's more than enough. Who we came here as, right? We can get back to that person and shed those layers. Yeah. Yeah. Leslin says, LOL, often we don't realize that there is no right way to be an entrepreneur. That part.
Come on.
That part. Yes. That is very true. That's very true. Because we're trying to recreate what we've seen modeled a lot in business spaces, in professional spaces. But yeah, that doesn't have to be the way.
Right.
We have been entrepreneurs for eons, right? So we can go back and reclaim those parts of ourselves and then make it look how we want it to. We're in control now. We have the power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do want to ask, any other lessons that you've learned along the way in entrepreneurship that you'd like to share with other aspiring entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, as they're on their journey?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I was actually talking to a friend yesterday and I said to her, now you guys, I'm 5 years in. I started in 2019. It's 2004. So I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary, June 19th. Okay. Yes. Praise the Lord for getting past 5 years because that's a feat. But if I were to go back and do this again, what I would do so much differently is that I came into this with an idea of what I wanted to sell. And I wish that I would have came into this just talking my talk. I wish I would have started with a YouTube channel, not because the YouTube channel is not because I'm trying to make money off of it, but because it would have helped me get connected with the people who were in the same mindset, who were on the same journey as me. And I would have been able to talk my talk, connect with them, and allow them to come to me and say, you know what? You're really good at helping people do XYZ. Can you help me? And that would have helped me define what I was going to sell a lot more quickly than doing it the other way around. Like Stephanie Perry, she hits the nail on the head when she talks about it in her challenge. Get out here and talk your talk first, and then let your product emerge and blossom from that. I would say out of the 4 years, my most traction has been in the last year when I've really been super, super, super intentional about talking my talk. It's been huge.
That's huge. That's huge. Because we'll feel like we have to have something perfect, like an offer perfect. And that's the key to success as an entrepreneur. But yeah, just getting out there, connecting with your audience, hearing what they need. Because a lot of times we don't even have to like create something and like engineer it ourselves. They'll tell us what they need. And then we can use our skill set to kind of create that offer. So yeah, realizing it doesn't have to be as hard as that. Once you begin like putting that energy out of your authentic self, it's like you get those ideas that come to you. Yeah, that's great advice. That's great.
And not only that, if you don't allow yourself to allow it to blossom, you will find yourself doing 10 times more work. You will make that product, that course 5 times over. You will make the landing page for it 20 times. You will redo your website 300 times more. You redo all of these things so much more because you haven't figured out what lane you've chosen to be in. Because here's the thing, that when people call us when we say that we're multi-passionate, I believe it's because we know that we can fit into a bunch of lanes, but we haven't figured out which lane we want to be in yet. If you start by talking your talk, the rest of those lanes are just going to fall off, and then you'll be really clear. Nah, this is where I'm at, and it simplifies so much.
That's true. That's true. It does simplify it. Yeah, that is wonderful. Pamela says, racial capitalism doesn't want Black women to connect to our whole selves. Yeah, because they know that if we do, we will be living our best lives away from corporate America and thriving. Yeah. Thank you, Pamela. That's so true. That is so true. Yeah. Oh, happy birthday, Leslie. June 19th was my birthday, a Gemini business. Yes. And hi, Daniela. Just subscribe to Rashita's channel. Yes, ready for tonight's conversation. I love that. Yes. Please subscribe. Yeah, it will sift itself out. That makes sense. Yeah. Instead of us having to put like the pressure, the perfectionism on it, like just kind of like release, right? That's what I've been telling myself lately. Like it doesn't have to be that stringent. Just release and let the answers come to you.
Yeah. And the people who appreciate being on that journey and following you, they will find you. That you want them to find you. That's what it is, you know?
So how have you like developed that sense of trust, right? That your people will find you the more that you talk your talk, because a lot of us will get in like, we can't trust that. And so we like work harder to make it perfect in the hopes that will yield the results. But how have you learned to like trust that your people will find you?
That's a great question. And let me say, that is another lesson of unlearning. Because I very, with the most kindness to myself, I call myself a recovering workaholic, because I don't know about y'all, but I have been made to believe that the harder I work, the more likely that the things that I want will happen, right? That if I work hard for this, if I work hard for that, then things will happen. But we've also seen that there's plenty for others, that's not how it works. Somehow they get the magic thing that just falls into the right place and things blow up. And you're like, I've been working this hard for so long. Why is it not happening that way for me. And I think it's because in some ways that honestly, I think it's that slavery mentality that we don't even know what's happening because we've been taught to work and work and work and work and work. I think sometimes, even though we believe in Jesus, we don't actually leave our hands open to let him do magical things and allow things to happen. So part of it is my trust in him. Part of it is as I start to see myself talk my talk, things have been opening up. It's like a flower. One petal here, petal there is like opening, and it's opening in its own way. That's my analogy way of saying it. But I've seen the more that I talk my talk, I've seen more people get on my email list. I've seen more people want to collab. I've seen more people want to come to my live streams. More people want to do sessions. It's more when it was what's the word I'm looking for? Positive reinforcement. Once you get out there and you start doing it and you see that talking your talk is actually attracting, and instead of having you chase things, it encourages you to keep talking your talk, and that positively reinforces it. And that is, once you can get that flywheel going, girl, that's a huge thing.
That's huge. The energy of attracting your people instead of chasing your people.
Yeah.
That mindset shift. If people are like wondering, how do you do that? If you've only been taught to chase, to work hard, to go after this, instead of just kind of yielding.
Yeah.
And understanding and trusting that like your power to attract your people is very real. Like, how do you start to tap into that energy?
Yeah. A huge part of that is, rather than trying to attract everybody, because here's the thing, know that our stuff can help everybody, and it can. But the more that we try to have it help everybody, the more that it helps or attracts nobody. And then when it attracts nobody, we try to overcompensate by chasing. I'm telling you this from experience, y'all. I'm not telling you this because I know it all. I'm telling you this because I messed it up. Okay. So the more that I actually stop trying to overcompensate and chase people down to say, listen, my product will change your lives. Instead, I started talking about how the topics that were affecting me and the transition that I was going through and the transformation that was happening for me and the changes that were happening for me. And I chose to say polarizing things like, quit being a strong Black woman. Some of us believe that being a strong Black woman is a badge of honor. I do not. So therefore, someone who agrees with me that being a strong Black woman is stupid, and we're like, I ain't got time for that. It's exhausting. I'm ready to move on. I got better things to do with my life. That person is going to be like, oh, I need to be over here with her. And then the person who believes that being a strong Black woman is a badge of honor, that person is going to not want to follow me. They're not going to want to engage with me. And so just because I'm saying those things that make it very clear who my people are and who my people are not, with love, like with respect. If you're not my people, that's fine. I'm not dissing or anything like that. But the people that are, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's grow together, you know?
Let's grow together. Yeah. And that's important, right? To be able to attract and repel in business. Because if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. And you really do have to put out like your authentic takes that are polarizing, your real thoughts, to attract your people and repel the ones that are not meant to take up your energy and space. That's so true.
So true. It's huge for helping us work less and live more. Because if you're so busy trying to connect with everybody, I call it treading water. Like, and I'm not a good swimmer, but it's just like you're doing all of this work and you're not moving anywhere.
Right.
You're not moving. Right. But when we actually start attracting and repelling, then we're actually swimming. We're actually directing our strokes. We're directing our body and we're moving forward. Again, I love analogies. So if you don't like analogies, maybe you're not me.
No, I love that. And you also said something about like speaking to your personal transformation. That's huge, right? That's a wealth of content. If you're struggling to think of like content ideas to connect with your audience, what is the personal transformation that you went on?
Yeah.
Right. And just sharing that authentically. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. Wisdom and color. Hey, yes, I agree. I had to stop working extra hard with the business like I was working a job. Yes. I started to burn out before the business even took off. I'm in the letting it blossom. Yeah. Yeah. Like Rashida said. Yeah. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Congratulations, girl. That's a whole
Congrats. Yeah. A lot of us enter into entrepreneurship with that same mode of it has to look like a 9-to-5 job to be legitimate. And that's one of the things I'm unlearning is legitimacy, right? It can look like anything I want it to look like because now I'm in control and I have the power. So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, the educator. Yes. Hey, ladies, been watching, just been able to comment, met Rashida and June at the Charlotte meetup. Oh, the Stephanie Perry. Ladies inspire me. Marissa helped me find my people. Oh, the educator. Thank you. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Yes. Yes. Leslie says, OMG, that's exactly what it feels like running in place. Yeah. Treading water. Like you said, like, ooh. It expounds a lot of energy when you're trying to attract everyone at one time. And it's just like your energy is all over the place. Yeah. So the more that you can narrow in on who you actually want to talk to, that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, I did want to ask you, once you realized that working harder was only burning you out rather than building the life you wanted, what did you decide to do instead?
Yeah. There's 2 iterations of this because as a corporate professional, I had my first iteration when I paid off all my debt. I paid off my last debt payment and I literally sat back in my chair and said, you know, I really don't have to make all, like, I can do something completely different. I can almost start over and not be like messed up. Like I could actually still live pretty good. Like I could try something different. I don't have to be stuck here. That was a huge change for me, change in mindset and change in like physical, like what was happening in my life. And that was the first time I was like, if I'm not going to do this, what would I do? And I was at a place where I felt like my dreams had dried up and all I could think of was, oh, I could just get another job. But even if I got another career, what career would it be? Why would I want to do it? I don't want to just go into another career for the heck of it. I mean, we already been here, done that. We're not trying to just jump from the pan into the fire. And so I had to like dream. And for me, dreaming looked like quitting my job and doing 3 years of missions. And while that was a very interesting and beneficial experience, I also think like what our community talks around taking a sabbatical and getting this opportunity to just step away from everything that you feel like you should do and asking yourself, but what do I actually want to do? Because we spend so much time thinking about, I should do this. I should be professional. I should get a job. I should own a house. I should own a car. I should have a cell phone. I should get married. I should have 2.5 kids. I should have a dog first before I have kids. I like all of these things that are like, who the hell said that we have to do those things? Maybe you want to live in a tiny house, be single, don't have any pets, have godchildren instead of your own children. Like there's so many other ways to live our lives, but we've been shoulded on for so long that it's like we don't even know what else we want. So that was the first iteration.
I love that. Yeah, kind of getting to what you actually want, right? Defining your values for yourself versus what other people have told you should value your whole life.
Right.
I think a huge part of that is like self-love, right? Coming back into the fact that you deserve what you value, what you want. And it doesn't have to align with what other people are telling you that your life has to look like. That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. So then the second iteration of like, okay, well, what do I want? Y'all, let me tell you, the Lord told me, I don't know what your beliefs are, but I believe in Jesus. And let me tell you, at 17, Jesus was like, girl, you're going to be an entrepreneur. And I was like, no, I ain't, Jesus. Bad English and all. No, I ain't. and that was how I ended up in the corporate job in the first place. And so when I actually decided to become an entrepreneur, I had to deal with my fears around entrepreneurism, like entrepreneurship. I was scared that I would be working all the time. I was scared that it was going to take a long time to get started. I was scared that I didn't even know what I was going to sell. I was scared that I would spend the rest of my life exchanging my time for money. And so I had to really deal with those fears and sometimes still continue to deal with those fears so that I could actually open my heart and say, I've tried the corporate route and that didn't give me the life I wanted, even though it gave me the stability. Because I think that was a lot of what I thought the corporate job was really going to give me was the stability, but I didn't account for all of the toxicity that came with it. So I had to like deal with some of those fears, and then getting into this place where, okay, now that I know that I want to do something different, even though I didn't talk my talk as much as I talked at the beginning, the things that I ended up doing were still came from someone saying, I see this amazing thing in you, and I think you could make a business out of it. And I think that sometimes it's easier for other people to see our gifts because we've got mud thrown all over us, our shoulds thrown all over us for so long. And so that was where I started my exploration. And you know what? I've been talking, but I'm not even sure that I answered the question. So forgive me if I haven't. But that was how
you did.
Started.
Thank you. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Pamela says, we have been shoulded on for way too long. Yes, I'm going to use that term from now on to remind myself not to fall prey to the should discourse. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Huge. Yes. But I do want to ask you what living more and working less means to you, and what does it look like for you in your day-to-day life now?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I love that you asked that because I don't think it's the one size fit all answer. That's why in some of my marketing, like I could talk about the fact that I travel more. I've lived in 15 different places around the world. I've traveled to over 30 countries. I have lived in Costa Rica for a year. I've done so many amazing things, but I don't want to sell you my dream. I want to sell you your dream. I want to sell you your ability to create whatever your dream is. And you're like, oh, I don't know if I can actually do that. Let me tell you, you most definitely can. Because if I can make my little quirky, weird dream happen, you can sure enough make yours happen. So, like if nothing else, if you take nothing else from this, take that. Like there's nothing that you should or have to do. I want you to imagine what you want and know that there's space to make that happen. So for me, working less and living more was, I wanted to make money on my own terms. I wanted to be able to choose how I spend my time on my terms. And it really comes down to those 4 parts, that freedom of time, energy, money, and location. And the money part, it started when I paid off all my debt and really unlearn some bad habits or learn some habits, because maybe I just didn't have the habits in the first place, about how to better use money. And then time, instead of bulldozing myself to do more, actually budgeting just as much as I budgeted my money, I started learning to budget my time and energy. I think about the introvert extrovert scale. It's not one or the other. It's a scale, and there's like a little meter in between. And some days I'm like closer to this side, and some days I'm closer to that side. And so I try to budget my energy. If I'm on my introvert side, don't be out there partying and trying to go to 20 home. Because you ain't got energy for that today. And choosing to pay attention to my mind and my body when it says we don't have something, you know, and honing my intuition for that. So my time and my money, my time and my energy, or my energy and my time. Listen, I think I got 3 out of there. Because as you manage your energy, you're also managing your time. Making sure you prioritize enough time for enough sleep, enough time to decompress, enough time to do work, but enough time to play and actually schedule in time for rest and fun. That's why we do Freedom Fridays every Friday. It's more about scheduling rest and fun because Black women know how to work. We ain't never had a problem working. We need more practice scheduling fun and rest. And then location. I became an entrepreneur because I wanted location freedom, which means I started a business that was online. I probably could have started a product business, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to. I can't carry that in my carry-on luggage, right? You know? So
yeah,
I had to be able to take something that I needed to be able to do a business that was going to allow me to come and go, because since I've lived in so many places, I have friends and family all around the world, and I love going to spend extended amounts of time with them because then I get to be a part of their life, you know? So that's what working less and living more look like for me.
I love that. I love that. And you said a term I haven't heard before, bulldozing ourselves. For those who may not be familiar, who may be doing it to themselves, not even realizing it, what does bulldozing yourself look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, bulldozing. I think of bulldozing when you are attuned to your body and your body is saying you need an extra hour of sleep, but all you can think about is I got to do this and I got to do that, and if I don't get done with that, I'm going to be behind on that. And it's like always it's this little nagging little troll in the back of your mind that says you're behind, you're behind, you're behind, you're behind, you're behind. Yes. And it makes you feel like you have to do more. And so instead of taking the rest, instead of prioritizing the fun, instead of actually allowing yourself to get the kind of energetic rest that you need, whether it's introversion or extroversion, you're pushing yourself more and more to do whatever's on the to-do list. So many things that are on the to-do list. And that's what I'm pretty good at, bulldozing myself. And I had to really be intentional about saying, you know what? That stuff is still going to be here tomorrow. Because guess what? It's my business.
Yeah.
Your corporate job is definitely going to be there tomorrow. And
that's true. Yeah, because we learn to overwork ourselves from such a young age, right? Pushing past our body's signals, telling us when to stop.
Yeah.
And that sounds like an inner overseer to me, right? Like I'm having to take out this overseer that I developed over time that was never mine, and just allow myself to rest. It's almost like replacing that inner voice inside with your own, getting back to your own inner voice. Because we don't come here overworking ourselves.
We don't.
We learn that along the way.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Let's read a comment here from Secrets. Hello. Non-Black women told me expect to be yelled at by doctors. Doctors raved about me. Women piled on more work. I resigned surgery floor feeling depressed and then ran into your channel. Oh, wow. Thanks for everything. You're welcome. And I'm sorry to hear that.
Wow.
I'm very sorry to hear that. Yes. Wow. And I'm glad you resigned.
Yeah.
I'm glad you resigned.
Me too. Yes. Take back your power, sis. Come on.
Yeah. Pamela says yes to location freedom. I'm working on that right now. I love that. I love that. And I feel like Exodus Summit has just like shown so many of us that that's possible, right? To have that location freedom. So yes.
Gosh, I wish I would have found this community like 10 years ago, because for the longest time I felt like, man, I felt weird. So being able to come into the community and be like, wow, there's a whole 167,000 of us who believe in the same thing. Y'all, this is a gift. I just have to say that. Even just being on this YouTube channel and some of the other amazing people that I've met through this, I am so sappy. That's part of my character. But I am so grateful for y'all. I want you to know that. Like, it is so nice to be able to connect with other women who are in the same unlearning, who are in this same location freedom and all the different levels of freedom, because not everybody believes that, you know?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's very special, very special and unique. And yeah, I feel the same way, right? Watching your content, everyone else who I've had the chance to meet and watch their videos, I'm like, okay, we're kind of on the same wavelength. And having people around you like that to encourage you on your journey when you don't necessarily have other people around you like physically like that, that's huge. And maintaining that progress towards your dream.
Yeah.
Leslie says Exodus Summit has changed so many of our lives. Yes, agreed. Shout out to Exodus Summit. Yes. I do want to ask you the guilt and fear associated with learning to work less and live more, which some of us may experience. How do you manage that, work through that? And on your process of unlearning.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I think guilt can be a good motivator, but shame is like saying that your identity is less than, has less worth, less value. That's where I draw the line. There should be nothing shaming you into working yourself to death. And I feel like the guilt of overworking should be the notification. I feel like that's your body saying, hey, we're going too far. We need to move that line. So I feel like guilt is like that notification that says, hey, we need to make an adjustment here. And shame is that little troll that's trying to like chain you into saying this is who you are. And I rebuke that with everything in me. Like, you do not ever let anything tell you that this is who, that overworking is who you are, that being a workhorse is who you are, that having to push through is the only value that you bring to the world. Man, I'm but like,
no,
don't take it.
It's powerful.
And it was a huge part of my unlearning to recognize that just because I don't get something done at the time that I thought I was going to get it done, and now I might have to go back and say, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get that done. That's okay. Don't take on any pressure for that. You're allowed to say, I'm human. And sometimes I overestimate. So I overestimated this time, and I'm not going to have it done. This is when I can have it done. That's learning to have grace for ourselves. And I think it's hard. It's really hard to have for ourselves, but it's an act of resistance. It's an act of resistance towards that. So that's one of the ways. I mean, I want to be specific about like some of the specific things I've had to challenge with the guilt and shame. I think also to feeling this little thing that always runs in my mind, or not anymore, but when I was working, I would feel guilty that I wasn't resting because I knew I was tired. But then when I was resting, I would feel guilty that I was not working because I knew I had more work to do. Like I couldn't win. I literally couldn't win. And that's where I feel like it starts to get into shame, because that means that no matter what you can do, something is always wrong. Like that's where I say we have to give ourselves space to say, no, I'm going to be present in this moment. And in this moment, I am working. And when I'm done working, brain, we're not going back over to the work side anymore. We already did the due diligence to know that the other things that we have on our to-do list are on some other time, some other day, but it ain't right now. So when I shift over into rest, I am going to allow my brain, my body to actually rest so that whatever I do next, whether it's fun, whether it's daydreaming, whether it's taking a nap, whatever it is, that I can sit in that space and be present with that rather than letting my mind guilt me into all of these other things that I could or should. Again, those shoulds make us feel like we should be doing.
You just said so much in that. Thank you. Yeah. Self-care or self-grace as resistance against oppression, right? Giving yourself the grace that you weren't afforded in these institutions, in these toxic environments, you can give yourself that grace now.
Yeah.
Right. That's huge. That's huge. And also like self-sovereignty, right? Telling yourself that you can determine when you need to rest now. The power is in your hands to decide that. That's huge. That's huge.
It is.
Yes. Yes. Alicia. Hey, Alicia. Very relatable. Yes. 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 Lesson says the messaging we have gotten teaches us how to shame ourselves after they have already changed the way we think of ourselves. Absolutely. That internalized shame that we never asked for. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's huge that we have to acknowledge it, because I think sometimes the misconception is, well, if I leave corporate America, it's just going to stop. But I have to tell you, even in my business, it continued until I actually came, like I had to face those things like head on in order to really unlearn it, not just take myself out of a circumstance that was putting it on me, but actually unlearn it so that I stop putting it on myself. So yes, I totally relate to that.
That's huge. Because we will feel like, right, once we leave the toxic environment, that those will just go away. But we've internalized a lot of the treatment that we've experienced. And so we do it to ourselves. That is internalized oppression. Right. So unlearning that takes time, and so much grace with yourself. Yes. Agreed. But I do want to ask why it's a radical act, in your opinion, for Black women to choose to work less and live more.
I love that. That's a great question. I think why it's a radical act. I love that word radical too.
Yes.
Because when I hear the word radical, I hear it as like, we've always been activists. I mean, that was one of the things that we have, one of the better things that have been internalized in us. But now we get to be radical for ourselves. Now we get to prioritize our own needs. And the other thing about that, I think that when you are radical and you are activate and stand up for yourself, that gives not only other people the space to do that, but I imagine it. Here's another analogy, you guys. I feel like it's all of the puzzle pieces finally come together, because when you choose to make space for grace and love and kindness for yourself, and then someone else chooses to do the same thing, and we all get to this place where we don't have to claw at each other, all of these puzzle pieces fall into place. And that's what actually makes the world a better place, rather than feeling like we have to go out and like impact the world. If we all just really took really good care of ourselves and made space for other people to really take care of ourselves, would not that make the world a better place? So it's radical because we've been taught that we have to impact everybody else. But if we impact ourselves first, it will impact everybody else. You know?
That's very true. Yeah. It starts with you, right? How are you treating yourself before you go out into the world? Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Yes. Leslie says, I like it because it sounds and feels militant. Okay. Yes. 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 I love that. Yes. Coral says, be radical for yourself. We as Black women are overdue. Absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. Yeah. But yes, any common misconceptions that you have heard around the idea of working less that you like to address?
Yeah. I mean, it's always the question, am I being lazy? Again, Alicia Renese did a great commentary on this. But that laziness is a form of shaming us, you guys. Like, saying that we don't have space to rest, that we don't have space to sit, is shame in itself. And dehumanizing, extremely dehumanizing. It's roboticizing you, or I don't know, I made that word up.
Ooh, but I love that. Roboticizing, yes, it is.
Turning you into a robot. And I think, that shame of feeling like there's no space for us to just sit and be. But here's the thing. I think I talked about this a little bit on some other video. I was watching this coach. He's a dating coach, but he talks about what white women's audacity looks like. And they take rest all the time. And they're not only that, they're quick to ask somebody else to help. They're quick to ask somebody to open the door, press the button. They'll stand there and wait for you to get out of their way because it's a right, but we don't choose. We haven't had space to lean into that. So I say we as Black women lean into our Black women audacity. And a part of that is choosing to not have to hold everything, choosing to not have to, don't even press the button on the elevator. Let somebody else press that button, unless you're the only one in the elevator. But you know what I mean? Like, choose to. We're so quick to step up and do the work that sometimes we don't give other people the space to step up first. So I'm saying take a step back, which is hard for us. You know, it's really hard. That's one of the things. Misconceptions is that because I'm stepping back, I'm being lazy. That if I don't do it, no one else will do it. Or that if somebody else does it, it's going to get done wrong and I'm going to have to do it again. Or, you know, all of these things that bulldoze us into feeling like we have to take the responsibility, and yet we don't. We don't. So, yeah. Come on.
I'm using that term now. Yeah, it's so true. Roboticizing. Yeah, it's so true.
I love it.
Yeah. And what advice do you have for someone who may want to take a step back but feel like they can't, like you said?
Yeah.
Like the world is kind of like dependent on you showing up for all these roles that you've taken on. How do you begin to like pivot from that and realize you do have the power to take a step back and people will adjust?
Yeah. First, I want you to take your own heart second into yourself and say, I can do this. Like I can do this. I can let go of responsibility. That's what when I say do, I can let go of responsibility. I do not have to take it on. Okay. And then it's going to become a practice that you do very regularly. It is a practice that when someone asks you a question, you have to get really good at saying, and then giving an answer. A second to pause. Because if we just jump at it, our next answer is going to be, yeah, I can do it. It's fine. We actually have to take a pause and say, wait, self, do I actually have time to do it? The way I started creating a stopgap for myself is I have to put it in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it ain't real. I'm not gonna be there. I'm not gonna know what to do. Listen, I'm not prepared if it's not in my calendar. Now I know some people are like, but the calendar feels like structure. But I use it as a boundary to help me take my own space back and say, you know what? I actually schedule. I don't even need to tell this person. If someone asks me, hey, do you want to hang out Thursday at 8 p.m.? I have Chicago South Step-In scheduled on my calendar every week. So if I choose to do something else, I have to make an actual choice that I'm giving something else up. Because a lot of times we don't recognize what we're giving up for somebody else in order for us to help them rather than what we're losing at it. So I schedule again. I promise you I'm not crazy. That's why on Fridays it's scheduling it out. Yes, my schedule has a lot of things in it, but that's because on the mornings, at least twice a week, it says sleep in. Excuse me. Another time it says go to run club because you need to be in your body. Another time it says daydream in the hammock. Like earlier this week, I had hammock time with Kat. Like when you schedule these spaces in and then someone asks you, hey, can I have that time? Take a pause and actually decide, do you really want to give that person that time? Or do you actually really want to keep that self for you? And that's up to you.
That's huge. That's huge. And you said something like, what are you losing? Because a lot of times our focus will be on other people. They need me to do this. They needed me to do that. But like, what are you losing in the process? That time that you had scheduled for yourself. So if you view it through that lens, it's like, am I wanting to give this up? The time that I need for me? Like, is it that important? And make your decisions from that standpoint. That's like a very powerful position to take. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
And you kind of have to do it with especially at the beginning. So I want to normalize this. At the beginning, you have to do it with almost every question someone asks you. And you can make you feel like, man, it's taking me a long time to answer. That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay. You know?
Yeah. Not feeling like rushed because someone else's timetable. It's like, no, you're on your timetable.
Yeah.
And taking that power back for yourself. Yeah. If you need time to make a decision. Absolutely. Secret says, I dislike the saying you can sleep when you're unalive. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I don't even, girl, whoever made that. Like, who makes these sayings? Oh my God.
That's true. That we just adopt. It's like, no, we need to be rested, right? To have lives that we can live long term.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And thank you, Love Smith. I appreciate this super chat. As a dark-skinned Black woman, my biggest opportunities have been opposition, have been white women. Currently trying to land a director role. 6 months now, only to be grilled in nasty stares. No, white men have been much better. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Ooh. Yeah. No, my heart is with you as you're navigating this because you don't deserve this, right? And this is the case for so many of us in toxic workplaces trying to navigate so many things that we shouldn't have to. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Just reading through the comments. Leslie says, I want hammock time with my liking. I love that. Yes. Navon Shell, hey, I haven't seen you in a minute. Yes, if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. If you frame it like that. Yeah. But yes, getting back to my questions. Some challenges that your clients may have faced, like how do you help people work through some of the stuff that we've talked about tonight when it comes to working less and living more, some of those barriers that may pop up along the way?
Yeah, I would say a lot of times it's not just the job, but also the roles that we play in our family. So if you're a mom or if you are the only child of an older parent, or if you are an aunt or a godmom or whatever the different roles, we have so many other roles that we play that can still unintentionally, we take on these shoulds of what it looks like to be good at those roles. And not only that, sometimes we have our own shoulds about what it looks because of our own trauma and things. And sometimes we just we start doing stuff that nobody's asked us to do. Nobody's asked us to do.
That was just kind of mind blowing. Yeah, it's true.
It is. We do. Yes. And not only that, we beat ourselves to death if we don't do the thing that nobody actually asked us to do, which is crazy. You know? So, yeah, as we think about the different roles that we play, maybe actually take a step back from those two. And I think it's little by little. I can't remember what I was watching, but it was something where it's like they took a step back from doing something and nobody noticed. Nobody noticed. Or if you're more like me and you're a direct person, then you say, hey, and I'll give a prime example. I love business stuff. I love strategy. It comes not just with the dreams, but with business as well. And so anytime somebody comes with an idea, I'm always like, I love like dreaming about it and help figuring out how to get started. And you should do this, that, and get into it. And I'm one of those people that are easily invested because I believe in people so deeply. Like I see somebody's dreams and I'm like, I'm like a kid in a candy store. Okay.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Yes.
Because it's fun. It's fun. It's so enlivening for me. But I also have to recognize that my role in everything that I do is not to be responsible. Sometimes I'm just consulted, like a racy. I know that's really like professional sounding. A racy is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Sometimes I just need to be informed, not actually responsible, not accountable for it. Maybe I might be consulted. But occasionally in some of these roles, we take on the responsibility rather than allowing our role to just be someone who's in the atmosphere, who's participating, but not responsible for the outcome. So I would say think about that as far as the roles that you play in your family dynamics as well. And also too, maybe some of those things that you're doing that nobody asked you to do, just start with not doing those.
Ooh, that part. And that just made me like think about like we're taught like to get our self-esteem that way a lot. To take on extra tasks, roles, responsibilities to try to fill those like holes within ourselves that society has created.
Yeah.
So how can we like get out of that, right? And realize that we were whole this entire time. As you say, like society puts mud on us.
Yeah.
We come here like whole beings, and along the way, like all of these things happen. How do we get back to our authentic selves?
Yeah. I would say, I want to say maybe the movement was like in the 90s where we started trying to overcompensate for our weaknesses to learn how to not have weaknesses. And we kind of forgot about our strengths. We started focusing on fixing all of our weaknesses rather than just knowing what our strengths are and leaning into that. And that put us in, I think it put us in this cycle of like feeling like we're in perpetual failure and also putting us in this cycle of perpetual self-development. like I can develop myself into being a perfect person. And that's not how it works. Like that's not how it's ever worked. So instead of thinking about all of the things that you're not good at, I love to help my clients. It's one of the first things I love to do. I want you to think about 3 characteristics of who you are. Like, who do you want to be known for? And a lot of times it's like a deer in headlights to ask that question. Like, you want me to say what? You want me to actually tell you the words of who I am? And I'm like, yes, I do. Now, don't get me wrong. In my program, I make it easy because I have like worksheets and all the things to help you work through it and help you figure some things out. But when you start getting to those words and you can describe who you are without your job title, without the roles that you play adjacent to someone else's life, it allows you to get back to who you are, regardless of all of those external things, and just be who you are, you know?
That is so very true. Yes. Self-development, the movement for that, right? And we're taught that, again, from such a young age to try to develop into this better version of ourselves all the time. That's exhausting because what are we chasing? If we already are, if we already know that we're worthy, what are we chasing?
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Yes, just scrolling through the comments here.
Y'all on fire. The comments are going so fast.
Yes. As we said, I quit too. Yeah. It's really realizing that we're already enough, right? Because it's kind of like a trap that we're put into. Feeling like we have to do all these things, right? Get to this point and then we'll be worthy. No, you came here worthy. You came here worthy.
Worthy today. Come on. I am worthy
Yes.
today. You are worthy today. Come on. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, but I do want to ask any offerings that you'd like to share with us as we wind down our conversation tonight, and then how people can get into contact with you and then follow your journey online.
Yes, for sure. So, my favorite one I've mentioned quite a few times because I think it's a really good first step to getting to this place where we work less and live more. And it's a free event. I do it every Friday. It's called Freedom Fridays. And the whole point of it is to get more rest and fun in your schedule because we've never had a hard time working. Like Black women know how to get ish done, but I want us to learn how to get fun done. I want you to learn how to get rest done. I want you to learn how to like make time for those things. And so we get together, we challenge each other to create a list of what of our rest and fun things, and we add to them from other people's lists. And then we actually schedule it in our calendar for the week, in addition to celebrating our wins, because that's another thing we don't do. We forget to celebrate ourselves. That's another hard part with bulldozing. You never stop to recognize just how much you've done. You just keep going and going and going. Yes. And you forget that you've done a lot. You've already done a lot.
Ooh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I felt that. Right. Yeah. Not celebrating ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I'm realizing how much of that has been like survival mode. Mm-hmm. Just like being on one thing and then the next thing and like feeling like life is very like short. Yeah. And realizing like kind of like putting the long-term thought in my head out there. Like, no, life is actually long too. Yeah. You can kind of breathe and take your time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you breathe and take your time. Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's what we do on every Friday. I have a worksheet that you can download. It's completely free. It's at freedomfridays.yourdreamstrategist.com. So yeah, you can join me I've already got tomorrow's already scheduled. So you can turn on notifications. You can get the worksheet, all the things from there. So I have that every Friday. And then I also have my coaching program where all of these lessons that I learned the hard way, I am an INTJ, which is a very systems oriented nerd. So I make worksheets out of everything. And you get to take advantage of that and say, and use that as the structure to help you on this journey. So yeah, in my program, we talk about these things. We go through the worksheets to allow us to process and find the different things that work for us. I'm always going to share my experience, but as one of the things that I love about working with my clients is when you're like, oh, I don't know that that's necessarily something that works for me. Then we talk through and we find something that works for you, because this journey is not about you doing it my way. I'm just helping you meet the milestones along the way. And so, yeah, it's a 6-month program. And yeah, we meet every week. You have worksheets and stuff to walk you through the process. And it's a lot of fun. I love it's also a like-minded community where we can talk about all of these things together. I think just like we're on here and we're learning from how other people process this and what other things that they've tried. When we're doing this in a community setting, we learn so much from others and each other as well. So that program is called Meant for More. You can learn more on my, excuse me, y'all, this cough is in the name of Jesus. You better get out of here. Okay. Yeah. So that's at meantformore.yourdreamstrategist.com. And I have a webinar on there if you're interested in learning more about it. But actually, instead of the webinar, just schedule a free strategy call. We talk an exit plan call. We're exiting this feeling of that we have to be strong all the time, that we have to hold responsibility all the time. And we're stepping into our Black woman audacity. And that's what we talk about on the call. So you're welcome to do that as well. So I done gave y'all a whole bunch of stuff.
And we appreciate it all. Yes. I'm trying to find the chat is on fire tonight, y'all. Thank y'all so much. was trying to scroll up to find the link. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
This is the link for that free strategy call.
Yep.
But yes, please subscribe to Rashida's channel. I see some of y'all already have, so that's wonderful. I do want to ask, as a last question, what is one sentiment or parting thought that you'd like to share with the audience after our conversation today?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. There's like 20 million things and I have to pick one. I guess the main thing that I want you to know, I think sometimes I've met people and that's part of the reason why I don't necessarily start with telling you all the traveling I've done, all the things I've experienced, because I think sometimes we think, oh, well, you're an outlier. Like you must have like a trust fund mommy and a spoon and a silver spoon daddy and all of these things that make it easy for you to do this. And that's not the case, y'all. Like I've had it hard. And even though I've had it hard, I have found my way into a place where I don't have to hold the responsibility for everyone all the time. I get to be fully me. I get to show up and enjoy my life. And while there's still dreams that I'm building, I know that today I'm living these prayers and I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not the only one that can do this. Like, each and every one of us has the space to let this responsibility go. I know it feels impossible right now. I know it feels like the world is going to cave in. Like if I stop doing things for my husband, he's not going to love me anymore. Or if I don't do this for my kid, he's going to be bad at school. Like I could just hear all of the things that are going through our minds right now. If I stop, then everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket. You're not going to believe me until you try it. So I'm going to just invite you to try just one thing. Just one thing will you stop doing? Maybe one thing you can stop doing is just close one window on your computer. Just one.
Oops.
Just one. Right? Because we're so used to leaving them open, right?
Yes. Me. Mm-hmm.
Did you ever notice that when you come back to that tab, Google will say freed up 314 megabytes of space?
Yes.
It's the same thing in your brain. But if we do that little by little, I'm not telling us to go from 0 to 100. That's why the program is 6 months. And actually, it has been 9 months as well. And it might go back to being 9 months because this is a behavioral change that happens little by little. So take your time and let go of some of that responsibility, just one step at a time.
I love that. Let go of that responsibility. Yeah. That's powerful. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here and sharing with us everything that you've shared tonight. Rashida's links are in the description section. If you'd like to book a call with her, subscribe to her channel, download her free worksheet. But yeah, just want to thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. These last 2 days, we've been having good conversations, girl.
I know. I love it. I love it. Yes.
Yes.
Coral says, awesome live. Thank you both. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're so welcome. Yes. So on that note, y'all, until next time, thank y'all so much for being here and everything that you've shared in the chat as we learn from each other in this learning community. So I appreciate y'all so much. Until next time. Bye, y'all.